you all for being here. Thank you for participating in the first part of the meeting. I'm gonna go ahead and run through this PowerPoint with you, which is a school project for me, but is also gonna maybe clear up some of the issues that we've had around non-professionally qualified teachers and the letters that all had to go out. Let me know, anybody have to field parent or teacher questions about non-certified teachers this year? Okay, so this is gonna kind of give you some of the background on this, as much as I can. So when we had cross-functional monitoring back in the spring of 18, we discovered that we had a significant lack of, now the new term is professionally qualified. We used to say highly qualified, certified, all that. But now we have a lack of professionally qualified special education teachers. The reason that it came out is because we're a waiver district. So the waiver applies to all of the general ed teachers. Your general ed teachers can basically have a college degree, get a provisional certificate, and they're golden. There was some confusion about whether or not it applied to the special education teachers, and so that was going on as well. It does not apply to them, and that came out in the monitoring. So at that point, we had a problem, because we had a lot of teachers here on waivers that weren't professionally qualified to be in the positions that they were in. And I know that a lot of you had to answer questions about it. I wanna thank you. We had a lot of parents requesting transfer to school, from this school to that school, because all of a sudden they're getting a letter home saying their teacher's not qualified or certified to do what they're doing. I don't know if it was mainly an elementary thing, but I know we dealt with it a lot in our office. So from there, Michelle, Judd, all the directors, Jennifer and Katie were involved in it. We literally pulled the certificates of every special education teacher that we have in the county, because we had to. And it was quite eye-opening, to say the least. So then and I'll talk about those results in a minute, but then from there, at the direction of Ms. Chester and some of the other people, we knew that this was gonna require some support on our end. So altogether, for this, we looked at the teacher demographics, so we looked at their certifications and their years of experience. Then we looked at the achievement data. I looked at our compliance rubrics to see how the new teachers did with, compared to the veteran teachers. And then we were required for this project to look at perception data. And so that is part of my job on a daily basis for the special education parent survey. And we're gonna talk about that too. So these are the things that we looked at to work on how to solve the problem. So, isn't that interesting?
Yes.
So Michelle and I really had to tally this, but you always hear that you lose classroom teachers in the first 5 years. And so you see, it came out to like 34, 35, 36% of our teachers always in this range. This was like 10, 11% in the 6 to 10 years. And then the other 45 to 50% in the 10 plus years. It concerns me that these are the like old Rockdale people that have been here for a long time. And what are we gonna do to fill in this gap if we can't hold on to these teachers in the 0 to 5 year period? So I know you guys have a lot in your buildings, but so we started looking at what are the things, how does this impact us? How does it impact us that we have such a big chunk of teachers that are new? So these are your professionally qualified teachers that you have. This is how many you have not professionally qualified, and this is how many you have not certified at all. Because when they thought the waiver applied to them, there was not some follow-up. So a lot of these people are in programs, but at the time that we dug through all the certificates, where some of these people were in their programs was not even known to us. Now, I know that if you've got teachers in your buildings now, they're getting called in and they're having to sign off on their certification plans, but that hadn't been being followed up on, I think, before cross-functional monitoring. So, any of you got those teachers that you know have gone in? Okay. And are most of them following through on their plans?
From my understanding, they are.
from your understanding? Okay. I don't know that
One
all.
of them, I'm not really sure.
Okay. I do think this year it's going to be held to the letter. So if they're on those provisionals and they're not meeting their end of the deal on the certification plan, they're not gonna be renewed, I believe. But again, that's HR's call, not mine. But it did lend to a big number of teachers. So now we know we have an issue. I know y'all know that, cause I know your jobs are a lot easier when you've got staff that knows the processes and the compliance than not. So when we kept looking at it, I realized that 23% of those teachers across the whole 228 we have fell into one of these three categories. So they were first year teacher, first year special education, or they didn't hold any special education certification at all. So some of these, I need to correct that. They didn't hold any certification at all. Some of these were like Ms. Trail, who came over and had certification but no special education, so first year special education. We had some that just had those waiver certificates and hadn't followed through, so they had no certification at all. So that was 23% of them, or 51, I think, out of the total 228. So then we looked at achievement data, and I mainly picked these charts because, and I know they're a little blurry out of here, but I pulled these out of Infinite Campus, and all I had to do was click. And I wanted y'all to know that it was in there, so I'll show you where that is later. But if you start in 2016, this is just reading, we just focused on reading, and this is the STAR scores that are aligned to the milestones achievement scores. So there's your weighted achievement for 16-17, and then 17-18, and then 18-19. And so it's not the way we want to be moving. And when we're increasing new staff and the test scores are going down, it's indicating that there might be a correlation there. I'm not saying it's a cause, but it's definitely a correlation. So then I looked at the rubric scores, which for this year were really from the audit, but these are new teachers. So remember, this only goes to 50 because they just got their 50 points. So every year, the new teachers' data it was about 78%, whereas the veteran teachers' data was about in the 98% range. Of course, some of that's after you guys have worked through some corrections with them. But remember, when the DOE comes in for compliance, what is their bar for compliance? 100%. So that 78% would get us a cap or an audit. So there again, we knew with the new teachers, we're seeing problems with the compliance data. So the last piece of data we looked at was perception data, and I'm actually gonna wanna do like a breakout session, I think, with the teachers on this, because this is the parent survey that we hound y'all about every year to get the parents to fill out online. But I don't know that y'all have ever looked at the questions. Have y'all ever looked at the questions? So I wanted you to see them. These are our results from this year. I have the results from the other 3 years I'll show you, but not all the results. But you can read them to see that the areas that were weak, we have some strengths. You know, they are discussing accommodations and modifications. They're available to speak with the teachers. So we have some strengths, but the things that down here, mainly in the 6 through 10, these are things that you know that experienced teachers probably are doing a better job of than others. Ensure that they fully understand the procedural safeguards. Often, if I disagree with the decision made by the school. Does your first year teacher know if they're in an IEP meeting and the parent doesn't agree or says they want, do they know how to explain to that parent what their parent rights are? Really help them, they know how to give them to them, but do they know how to explain it to them? They may have never been in that situation before, so it's understandable, but it's just another area that we realize that the first year teachers need support. So really looking at 6 through 10, those are our weak areas. This is always, when we go to the conferences, this is always the weak one across the board. But Karen's just talking about addressing that in ILD day, so, but that's always a weak one across the board. So if you look at that, this year we did meet the state average. We were at 68%. so, we tied with the state one year, which was 71%. But this year we had the biggest drop off. We were off by 5 points. The other concerning thing about it was though, this year, we had like 129 responses and it decreases every year. So this year we only had 59 responses. So at the Parent Mentor Conference, we talked about some ways to get them to, get the link to them. I think part of the issue, quite honestly, could be that they took away that paper copy and they don't wanna give it back. They want it to be electronic, which I understand, just like we want the rubrics to be electronic. But, I think that's part of the issue, but they did give some good suggestions, so we'll share those in the spring when that comes back out. So, we have this goal as learning support goal for the year. When we had the needs assessment meetings at the beginning of the school year, when the principals came out, we had the teams that met, and for our schools, we had to give an update of what our goals were for the year. This was our goal for the year, increasing student achievement through the IEP, okay? So when we know that we've got all these new teachers, their rubrics aren't where they should be, the parent perception data has fallen off a little bit, then we have to start thinking about how to support them. And we know this, right? So, the ones that feel like they got the right amount of support, the type of support they needed in the areas that they needed will stay the course. And we have to figure out how to not have that big gap during years 6 through 10. But moving forward. So this was our story, which we were tasked with finding, which was that we have a significant amount of new and uncertified teachers responsible for student progress. And if they're gonna be successful, we really feel like we need to do 2 things: provide appropriate and significant supports for them, and increase parental and community involvement. Okay, I think oftentimes you have some new teachers that reach out to parents and are super involved because they're comfortable, but a lot of them aren't, and they're fearful of those parent conversations and things. So that's gonna have to be part of the solution. So we agreed that targeted supports are gonna be necessary for this group of teachers, and it was gonna be the 51 out of the 228 that we identified as first year to special ed or not certified. And they will, they've already taken surveys for me, which I will tell you guys, if you need to know something, I created it in forms, I sent it out. You know how teachers won't always reply to emails? You send them a survey about how they feel about their job during the day and what they think they need, and boom, 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 boom. They all came back. So I surveyed them about what they were finding to be the most difficult aspect of their jobs, what kind of support did they need? Did they want to have classes? Did they want to do it online? And then a little bit about their background information and stuff. So I'll share that later. But so based on that information and this information, we started SET. We're going to do 9 modules this year. And we've started, and we're tweaking as we go, because as they're talking to us, you know, we're learning more about what they need and trying to be, you know, cooperative with them. All right, any of you surprised by that data? Nope.
Nope.
All right, well, thanks.